Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. I hope everyone had a great weekend. You are tuning into Chiefs Latest. It is your host, Calvin Silvers. Happy Monday. Sadly, though, it's a Monday after a loss. Those are never fun. You might have even put the game out of your mind. But sadly, I am going to remind you about things that happened because I'm going to break down what I saw from the game, of course, give my thoughts and opinions. But I do have some potential help that could come our way to fix some of these problems. I'm going to dive into everything. But before I do, you know the drill. It does not matter what platform you are on. It could be Spotify, it could be YouTube, it could be Apple Podcast. It does not matter. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you turn on notifications because we have daily, that's right, daily videos here at Chiefs Latest, Monday through Friday. We're entering week 3, folks. The season only picks up from here. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss any of the news, rumors, or actions regarding this team. Well, we're going to start with the offense and talk about some of the woes that I saw on Sunday because this offense, they are in a rut. It is no surprise. That 20-17 loss against the Eagles in the Super Bowl rematch, it just proved what we all knew. And again, it just sucks to see. But Mahomes is not, of course, blameless, but you can't solely put what this offense is going through on him. I don't care if we're 0-2. It is not Mahomes' fault, even though he is the QB. But again, this run game, it's non-existent. Of course, Mahomes isn't going to be able to thrive in a passing situation when there is no run game to threat the opposing defenses with. And not only that, his top 2 options are sidelined. His top 2 receiving options, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce's getting old, and we're starting to see that. And yes, while there still is a connection there, he's not the same Travis Kelce. The bad thing is Mahomes was missing some deep shots to Thornton that he should have been hitting earlier. Of course, he finally did connect with him with about 3 minutes left in the game. But if you could have hit some of those earlier, you would have had more time for your defense. Wouldn't have to play against the clock. But that's not even the biggest issue, the fact that he missed some, deep throws down the field because he doesn't get to warm up his arm munch for those deep throws, which I'll get to here in a second. But he's on pace for over 1,000 yards rushing. That is not sustainable for the Chiefs. Pacheco and Hunt, they're liabilities in space. They have zero elusiveness. Get them out of the backfield, get them in a one-on-one in the open field. What are they going to do? This is probably one of the least dynamic running back rooms right now in the league. And not only that, with Rice suspended, with Worthy injured, you're missing out with your rookie and Jalen Royals as well, who's now on the sideline and can't take any of the stress off or even try to get a connection with Mahomes downfield. Kelce's drop leading to an interception, it was the momentum killer. That's when the game flipped and flipped for the worse for the Chiefs. But even he isn't the sole problem either, even though he is a problem. His drop passes, they're starting to pile up. His mistakes, they're starting to pile up. But the Chiefs' O-line also isn't good. It's not blocking well enough for Mahomes to get anything downfield. It's leaving this offense stale, and it's leaving this offense predictable. Reed and Nagy, they need to rethink their attack. Becomes Mahomes lowering his shoulder in the open field, but yet you guys are scared to run a QB sneak due to a fluky injury against Denver? What is that about? Quit trying to get cute with Kareem Hunt on a 4th down. Get Mahomes under center. Go ahead and do a QB sneak. I just don't get it. But if you look at Mahomes rushing 6 carries, 57 yards in week 1. Week 2, he had another 7 carries, so 1 more carry, and 66 yards. So more yards, 9 more yards. So he's only upping his production when it comes to running. It's not sustainable. Chiefs run game in week 2, when it didn't feature Mahomes, 2.9 yards per carry. Pacheco had 10 carries for 22 yards. Hunt had 8 carries for 31 yards. It's terrible. And as I was mentioning, Kelce isn't the problem, but a problem. He's not the problem because, while he had the drop, he still captured 4 receptions for 61 yards. That led all receivers in the game. But yes, that one interception off a drop was game-changing. Mahomes passing, as I mentioned, doesn't really have time, doesn't really get to warm up the arm that much. He had 1 completion of 10-plus air yards before that final 4 minutes. So there's not even a chance for him to get going. There's a lot of woes and there's a lot of fingers to be pointed here. Especially you can't do much, again, when your top two receivers are out. Worthy out, which should be back soon, might even be back against the Giants, and Rice out. So the receivers you do have aren't creating separation that Mahomes needs. So not only does he not have time, you're not getting the separation. If you want to talk about the O-line, Suamataia, Jawan Taylor, they continue to struggle. It needs addressing, and it will be addressed, especially with Jalen Moore sitting right there, who's probably going to move into a starting spot now. Hunt and Pacheco's lack of versatility, it limits the play calling overall. Reed should scheme more quick screens, more jet sweeps. You got to compensate for a non-dynamic backfield. Again, you're not threatening the defenses. They know they can play up. So the Chiefs' offense, it's stuck in neutral. Mahomes is running probably too much. You have a non-dynamic backfield, can't open the passing game, and Kelsey hasn't been reliable enough lately. And then you don't have Worthy or Rice. You have your O-line that's inconsistent in blocking. It's not a down-to-down blocking unit yet. You need some creativity at least to avoid digging yourself in a deeper hole with this offense. All right, let's go ahead and switch to the defense now. That's enough about our offense. It's going to make me mad. It's going to make me upset. Let's talk about the defense because at least they showed up and at least they wanted to play, but yet it did expose some depth issues. We just got torched in Brazil. I mean, we gave Justin Herbert MVP numbers that, aren't quite what we see from him on the regular. So it was nice to bounce back against the Eagles. We held them to 216 total yards. That's usually a historic mark for the Chiefs, a near guaranteed win, because every time they've held teams under 220 since 2009, they've only had one loss, and that was 2023 Christmas Day. Spagnuolo called a great game. He kept A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley to just 88 yards on 16 first-half touches combined. Even with injuries piling up, he still was able to get this done. But there is a lack of D-line depth behind Chris Jones, and it's screaming for attention. You're going to recall that we did cut Mike Pennell. It's a head-scratcher, and it's coming to bite us back. We don't have a reliable interior option. And then Christian Fulton, he's been a $20 million bust so far. Now, I use that term bust, loosely, but I mean just so far in his Chiefs career. He had a brutal 52.8 PFF grade in a small week 1 sample, and then he comes into week 2 and gets injured with an ankle injury. We haven't been able to see anything from this $20 million man. This unit showed some heart, the defense did, but the Chiefs' failure to add proven depth at defensive tackle or corner, something for the secondary, it's a glaring oversight that could haunt us against stronger offenses that are going to pass. Spag's aggressive scheming, though, with the blitz, it did save the day to an extent. But we just need more bodies to keep this level of intensity up on the defensive side. Jones needs a reliable partner on the inside. So Veach is going to have to explore some free agents to bolster this D-line. Minihue, Noddy, they aren't cutting it. They are able to get off their blocks in a timely manner. And then Fulton struggles. That opened at least the door for Noel Williams, who had a good play on Sunday. So maybe there's something there. But again, that's a very small sample size. So Spags might have to continue to be aggressive to at least cover some of the depth issues that you have in your secondary. But we did see Gelati. He was out there a lot more. He has that speed. Of course, you wanted to try to contain Jalen Hurts a little bit. So it was nice to see him out there. But the defense thankfully showed up big for the most part, holding, again, Philly to 216 yards. Historically a good mark. But there is some D-line depth that needs to be addressed. And when are we going to see Fulton out there and actually contributing in a positive way? So Spag's scheming, Arrowhead's energy, it did help. It did carry us to an extent. But yeah, you're going to have to address that interior. You're going to have to address the secondary because it's only going to pick up from here, especially with the Bills, Ravens coming up soon. And the schedule just really doesn't get that much easier. Last thing I want to talk about the game is the tush push. And I'll try to make this one quick, but this play, blatant officiating miss, and it cannot happen in these games. Both guards were jumping early on multiple snaps when it came to the tush push, yet no flags at all. And this isn't Chiefs fan bias here. It was shown again and again on the replay. Tom Brady was calling it out again and again. Slow motion and everything. Millions of eyes. I'm not for banning the tush push, by the way. I'm not trying to be that guy out and out, get it out of the game, unfair. I'm not like that. But if the refs, if they can't tell obvious false starts because they're 15 to 20 feet away, as Chris Jones was saying after the game, trying to give them too much credit, then the play's unfair. If they cannot call those false starts because of distance or because of the formation, it is an automatic first down within 2 yards of the sticks. It cannot happen if you are not going to officiate it right. The missed calls change the game's complexity here in week 2. The NFL can't let it, dictate games like this when it comes to playoffs, Super Bowl. So if they're going to continue not calling it or getting away with blatant false starts, I might have to switch my support of the tush push to switching it to a ban after this season. It is going to tilt crucial moments unfairly if they can keep just jumping early. And the Chiefs prep for this too. It's not like they came in here unprepared. You played them a decent amount the past 4 years, even though they're in the NFC. You know what's coming. Everyone knows what's coming. You're prepping for it. But yet when your guards get, a second or two ahead, yeah, you're going to get it. So there might need to be a lobby again from teams at least asking for stricter officiating on this play. False starts, if you're not going to call them, it's going to tilt it in a game that cannot be allowed in. Again, Super Bowl, NFC Championship, whatever it may be. And it's not even saying you owe the Chiefs that. Just call it correctly. But again, the Chiefs' defense deserves better. They were playing well. They were holding key figures to low numbers. And you just couldn't call blatant false starts. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, I'll leave that there. Again, I'm not for banning it, but if we're not going to be able to call false starts, I'm going to have to switch my stance. All right, last topic here, because I've been talking about, well, this has been bad, or maybe this has been bad, or we need depth here, or we're the least dynamic, running back room. Okay, so what are some answers? Well, there's not really much right now, especially free agent market, but you could make a trade. And some names that have been rumored for the Chiefs are Cowboys defensive tackle Mozzie Smith and Patriots running back Antonio Gibson. Smith's become expendable in Dallas after they acquired Kenny Clark in the Micah Parsons trade, but he's really had some lackluster development in his 3 years. He has poor run-stopping abilities. It makes me question if he's the plug-in player. We need that right now next to Chris Jones. We can't develop someone and wait a couple years. Going to Gibson, he's buried behind Stevenson and Henderson in that New England running back room. But he brings some dynamic playmaking that our backfield is lacking. He has the speed, he has the pass catching ability, that third down spark. We saw him have a 90-yard kickoff return against Miami on Sunday. So he has that special teams ability as well. You got to remember, the Chiefs only have about $2.8 million in cap space right now. So Smith's 3.62 cap hit, Gibson's 4.5 million. Yeah, they're over what you have in the cap. But you just maybe have to give a 6th-round pick for either. That should be enough. I think you can move around some, restructure some things here or there and make it work. The Chiefs can't keep trotting out the same stale lineup that we've seen these first 2 weeks. These trades could at least inject some life into a roster that's really struggling to find its identity early in 2025, especially offensively. What are we offensively? Looking at last year's stats for Smith, 17 starts, 41 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack. $3.62 million cap hit in 2025. Played mostly all games over 2 seasons. Did have a healthy inactive once in 2024. Gibson, on the other hand, 538 rushing yards, 4.5 yards per carry. I like that. Only 1 touchdown, $4.5 million cap hit in 2025-2026. Smith, he could slot into rotational snaps behind Jones, or at least next to Jones. He's got size, strong hands. He could clog the A-gap. But Beach must ensure that if he's going to do this, that he's ready to start. We don't have time to keep waiting on the development. We need immediate help in that situation. Gibson's has that elusiveness. He has that pass catching ability. He could replace the spark in the backfield. Then you're going to pair that with Pacheco and Hunt, who has that downhill running style. And then he has the kick return ability as well that adds some special team value there. It'd be easier to fit both of these guys or either one of these guys under the cap, unlike some other big names out there like Kenneth Walker that you could try to trade for. 6th-round pick for Smith or a day 3 pick for Gibson. That keeps draft capital intact as well. The Chiefs, we all know it. They need something here. It's something different. Mozzie Smith could help the D-line, possibly. I don't really know. I personally don't really think so. I think it's more development that you're still waiting for. You don't have time for that. But again, name that has been rumored. But if he's a starter, that's iffy. Gibson's speed, his versatility, in my mind, that makes him an easy addition for our backfield. Someone that I would look at, especially with your tight cap space. Beach has to get a little creative here. These are low-cost trades that could help turn the season. But then you have to ask yourself, how long should we keep playing this game of bringing in low-risk, high-reward people? When do you make that big splash? And where do you make that big splash? Questions that have to be answered by Chiefs and Brett Beach. Of course, there's a reason I'm not in that position, and I am in this position talking to you guys. But it's only week 2, or wrapping up week 2. We're heading into week 3. Season's not completely over yet. I still have trust in the Chiefs, but there are definitely some issues that need to be addressed. Well, that is all that I have for you on this lovely Monday. I want to know your guys' thoughts over Sunday's game, and also what do you think about adding Ozzie Smith or Antonio Gibson? Once again, I am your host, Calvin Silvers. You are listening to Cheifs Latest. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and until next time, have a good one.